There's a book called Masters of Change that I read many years ago, and it talks about the fact that great leaders, people that will be successful from the point that book was written on into the future, would be able to navigate chaotic times. Things are going to get turbulent off and on. I've noticed over my 29-year career that there's been some sort of crisis every 7 to 8 years that really can negatively impact your clinic or your business of any kind if you don't know how to make your way through the storm. Now, this is a bit unprecedented. This is a little bit worse than I've seen before. Although after 9/11 and once here in Orlando when we got hit by 3 hurricanes in 3 weeks, and as far as Orlando was concerned, those 2 crises crashed our economy and people were getting fired, by the thousands. And so I'm somewhat familiar with going through this. So the first thing I want to make sure we're thinking, change your thinking as an individual, as a leader, and so that you can help other people change their thinking. And there's a saying ironically in Chinese that the word crisis means dangerous opportunity. And the purpose or the meaning behind that is the fact that whenever everybody's in panic mode, anybody who's a true leader is looking for what are the opportunities here, both now and that can accelerate me, where I can have exponential growth once the playing field evens out a little bit, once we get past all of this. So as an example, Christ-centered chiropractic is there as a spiritual anchor for this profession. Yet, when times are good, it's, a lot of people move away from God. They forget, as it says in the Bible, they forget the Lord their God because they're fat and happy and have, cattle and fields that are blooming. And yet at times like this, people start to think about God again. And so we are beginning a prayer call every couple of days. And that's going to be an opportunity for Christ-centered chiropractic to fulfill its purpose. I've got many doctors now looking for opportunities to lead and join in and partner with other businesses in the community. There are opportunities I found that these crises tend to create with gyms, with churches, with charities, with all the different businesses to connect, to develop a relationship. These are the type of relationships I always encourage, but now more than ever, there's a real opportunity because everybody needs the help. So as an example, I've had one client who called 20 different businesses to let them know that he would be their health resource to guide their employees through what they can be doing to build their immune system and prepare and just reinforce health during this time. The managers and the owners of these businesses were thrilled because they weren't doing any of that, of course, at all. I've got another client who's calling all the gyms, and I've encouraged this client to tell the gyms, hey, let's create a WOD. For all these people not coming in, let's send a workout of the day and encourage them to keep exercising even though they're not coming to the gym, to boost immunity and stay fit during this time so the gym remains relevant and a resource during all of this. And that doctor partners with them in creating these videos and doing that communication. All of it, of course, again, so that once this is over, we accelerate. This ends up having been an opportunity for growth after all is said and done. Other things for me, just with my patients, a lot of them I haven't gotten in a rhythm of taking their multi, taking their vitamin D, and doing things necessary to support their immune system all the time. And now I've just insisted, hey, here's your double bottles because you need this more than ever right now. And so, we've got patients now in a rhythm, taking supplements, putting them on auto ship. So this is something that's going to happen hopefully for the next decade because of this opportunity. And obviously when I say opportunity, nobody take that wrong, like I'm saying we're somehow predatory here and taking advantage of people. It's an opportunity to drive our message home, help the community more, and establish ourselves as leaders, as a real resource. Also, obviously, by continuously focusing on immunity and chiropractic, I suspect that there's going to be millions of patients that actually understand the true meaning of chiropractic after all this is done, that were coming in for neck pain, headaches, back pain prior to this. We're actually calling it come in and get your immune booster. This is the immune booster. That's why you're coming in. And a lot of my patients that tended to look at it more for pain, they're saying, yeah, absolutely, I need my immune boosted today. I need my immune adjustment today. People that Again, before they weren't getting the message, now suddenly we're breaking through. That's an example of another opportunity. Something we're also doing, so like we're doing the prayer calls now for CCC, we're doing webinars on telehealth, on telewellness. I already see through Well Aligned, I see a dozen patients virtually already that no matter what happens with the closure, this won't disrupt the care with those dozen people at all. They live in Washington, they live in New Jersey, they live all in Maryland, all around the state of Florida. So I'm able to continue providing testing and nutritional advice and health advice to those people without being physically present with them. And so, that also creates, a chance for us to finally teach this level of wellness to doctors. And so we're doing a webinar for that. Back to your practices, we've got a massive amount of data going out. And this is kind of what I want to finish with relative to what we did at 9/11, the hurricanes, 2008, all these different crises we've been in before. If generally you're somebody who doesn't do a lot of Facebook Live or doesn't post a lot of videos or doesn't post a lot on chiropractic and health online, or you haven't kept a database and been sending out emails, or you haven't gathered a text list to send out texts, it's time for you to take advantage of this, learn how to lead in times of chaos and ambiguity, and start becoming somebody who's in a rhythm to constantly send out information. We want to aggressively educate right now on all our elements of chiropractic, what I'm calling 6X. Whatever you were doing, multiply that by 6. Because my mindset is this, at times like this. I envision as people were losing their jobs at Disney, as people were shut down for weeks during the hurricane, as people lost all their stock value and their businesses were going under that were related to real estate in 2008, I envision them thinking, okay, we've got to look at our budget. What are we cutting? And I envision them looking at that line item that said chiropractic, $300 a month or whatever it was. And I thought about that moment a lot, day in and day out, for a huge number of my patients that were involved in these at-risk industries. And I thought, when they're making that decision, I need to educate so aggressively that they would never consider quitting the chiropractic. And while we did lose some people, I can't tell you how many times somebody said, we were looking at things to cut, but you helped us understand the one thing we absolutely cannot do is risk our health right now. So we just kept driving home how critical it was that they stay healthy, that's going to avoid expensive medical costs when you may have lost your insurance. It's going to give you the vitality to be somebody who at work can outperform the others to not get fired. Or when looking for another job, you're at the peak of health and not walking into an interview sick or in pain. This is a time to reinvest in your chiropractic, not to back down. In fact, what we encourage people to do during these times is if you're on 1 time a week, you should be coming in twice a week. If you're twice a week, 3 times a week. If you've been rarely referring, start referring like crazy, because this isn't just how important, this isn't just so important for you at such a time as this, but certainly more now than ever for friends, family, the people you know, if we're going to really get the curve flattened, boost immunity. To wrap this up, to help people understand, this is an immune situation. If you get exposed, you've got 1 of 2 things are going to happen. One is you've got a strong immune system, and you're going to either expel it, or if you actually contract the virus, you'll easily get rid of it. You look at how easily people are getting well who are healthy and have a strong immune system. The second thing is you'd have a B or a C level immune system, be far more likely to contract the virus, and possibly be in danger because you've got it. So the biggest thing right now is it's an absolute, there's not an option. You've got to do everything possible to keep your immune system healthy. What's really discouraged me throughout this whole process is that there's been no focus by the government, no focus by governors and politicians, or even chiropractic organizations sending hate mail to chiropractors like, don't talk about immunity or you lose your license. That we haven't focused on the fact that if the country suddenly zeroed in on their immune system, they radically changed their diets, they made sure to get adjusted, they took their immune supplements like things that raised D levels and raised glutathione levels and decreased inflammation, and made sure they were nutrient proficient versus nutrient deficient. If people were doing all of this, we'd be strengthening ourselves as a country, and as individuals to empower us to fight this illness. Certainly there are other measures that have to be taken, but more than anything, it's a time to boost the immune system. And again, that's what we teach as chiropractors. It's time to lead, it's time to empower, it's time to grow in times of chaos, and certainly at the end of all this, it will position us for accelerated growth. So we'll go looking back on this, say 3 years from now, and say that was the greatest thing that ever happened in my practice. It was certainly terrible for the country. We feel horrible for the people that have suffered or even died from this. But as far as the movement of chiropractic, changing the thinking of a nation, and our practice exploding as a result, it happened because of this time. The Bible talks about Esther, and where she saved the entire Hebrew nation by going to the king, and she was told, you were born for such a time as this. And I really believe as chiropractors, we were born for such a time as this, to lead our patients, lead our communities, and lead this nation to a better place, not just now through the crisis, but for a much greater future. If we hang in there and keep charging, amazing does await for you, your family, your patients, your business, and this world.
Two things, Dr. Ben.